Welcome to the Outer Realms with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, who really have been with us since day one. So we are super, super grateful for them tonight and every night. Big thank you also Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, who is responsible for that amazing intro and outro that you hear. He is an award-winning composer for Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. Think about that. Spooky month is coming up. His music can be found on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, pretty much anywhere that amazing music can be found. So big thank you goes out to Dr. Snick as well. Tonight, we welcome back Peter Panagore, who's going to be wowing us a little further with more information on NDEs. Also, I think after effects of NDEs, mystical experiences, consciousness. It's going to be fantastic. So it's always good. Everybody just loves him. We are on a few different streams again tonight, guys. We are on the usual UFO Paranormal Facebook, Outer Realm, of course, Canada's Most Haunted, of course, News on the Flip Side, UFO Undercover Joe Montaldo. We are on UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials YouTube. We are on UFO Paranormal YouTube. We are on the Outer Realm YouTube. If you dig what you see, subscribe and click that little bell over there and get some notifications, and you get a whole bunch of really good stuff with that also. So we don't want to miss out on anything fun. So we're going to start off with, I thought, we've been kind of pushing people to do some Folgers commercials for us because it's like kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. We're just going to keep playing it. So tonight we're going to start off with one of Wayne Murphy's from Team Templar North America. And I thought that would be a whole lot of fun. We played some of Dolly's last night, and they went over really great. Well. Yeah, they were awesome. So hang tight. Here we've got another one.
Good morning, everyone. Wayne Murphy and Sean Williamson from Team Templar North America. When it comes to change, we're all about change, especially when it comes to changing history. But there's just one thing that we won't change, and that's the good taste of Folgers coffee in the morning, or anytime as a matter of fact. Taste that you can count on, just like the history that we plan to change. Folgers is a history of its own that will never change. Have a good day, everybody from Team Templar North America. Folgers.
He missed his calling. I'm serious.
Just like that. See how easy that was? Flash a cup around, just maybe flash a, container around. This is whole lot of goodness to be shared.
You don't even need a video to listen to that commercial because he is just so smooth.
It is really so smooth.
Now, he said Wayne Murphy and Sean Williamson. I do not see you, Sean, in this video. So, Sean, and I know you're awake because you just
and Carl, we know you got cups now.
Yeah, we're waiting. We're waiting,
we
gentlemen.
Want your commercial also. Exactly.
I'm gonna have to send a message to Mr. Williamson.
I know, it's time. We want those commercials. Bring in our Folgers commercials, people. We'll play them. They'll be on here forever. And millions of people will listen to it every single night because we'll keep playing them. It's not just a one-shot deal. It will sit in archives forever. So you can even introduce yourself before you do the Folgers gig. And that way it's just like advertising for yourself as well. So just some food for thought. Oh,
that's for Wayne.
Hello.
Hello, Peter Panagore.
Hello. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. How are you two?
We're good. We were just giving shout outs to the audience, Janie and Wayne. And yes, my big brother and Zachman and
chiming in. Yeah, they're coming in slowly. I can always tell who's watching what up there. So
we've been catching everybody off guard. Hi, Wayne Murphy.
We just played your commercial, Wayne.
We noticed Mr. Williamson is missing.
But it's nice that you gave him credit anyway.
It is very kind of you. So maybe you need to do another one where, I don't know, you zoom him in and include him. We'll see. Hello, Samantha. Hi, Michelle. My niece. Congratulations, Lexi. Love you. Zia loves you. She graduated today.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. So how are you now that we've gone through our board?
Wonderful. I just came from a pre-wedding dinner of my cousin's daughter. That is a big deal in my town of all places. He calls me up and says, "Do you know this place?" I said, "Yeah, I live there. I don't even have to travel wedding. I don't go anywhere. I stay here and I get to officiate too."
So that is so nice. Congratulations.
That's a nice treat.
That's an honor. That's an honor.
Know. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So what have you been up to since the last time you've been on? I think you're like at frequent flyer points with us now.
We call you the third host. Yes.
Yes, it is a frequent flyer. I saw my second UFO of my lifetime.
When?
Yes. So about a month, we got a little video, got some pictures. We were in my backyard. I live in a rural place where there's a lot of stars, a lot of sky.
Right.
And this night I had a buddy visiting from out west for the weekend, and we're sitting around the campfire, and he says, "Let me get some pictures." It's okay. Let me set the scene here. The moon is up. There's an oak tree. Behind the oak tree is the moon, like the 3/4 moon. And there are these light wispy clouds traveling below the moon at high speed, just whipping across the sky, can peek at stars, that kind of thing. And he says, "Let's get some pictures." And I say, "Sure." Something dramatic, he says. So I lean back in the chair. I go, and I look up, and there's a UFO right above me. It's beautiful. Like right above the treetop, maybe 5 or 10, maybe 10 trees above the treetop. And it's a glowing ball. It's beneath the clouds. The clouds are whipping by, and it's just moving at this very, very slow pace. And it just kept moving at the slow pace below the clouds. And my buddy, he grabs his camera and he takes this video of it, and it's got like an orb of light around it. It's like pulsating light. And I kept looking at it like, is that below the clouds? I don't see any flashing lights on it. What am I looking at? It took me a few minutes to like put it all together. It passed through the oak tree, behind the oak tree. And I'm like, what am I looking at? And then I realized, oh my God, this is a UFO.
This is? Wow.
I've never seen one.
Did you have any like funky things happen after, like missing time or anything?
I wish. Really? I'd be like, hey,
you're like me
for a trip.
It's like,
maybe you did and you don't know it.
Maybe not this time.
I keep telling Amelia that, but she won't believe it. But yes, she's telling you that.
Well, maybe not this time.
I haven't done anything that I want to know about.
There's that.
That's the idea. A lot of times is you don't know, because they say if you've seen a UFO, chances are you're a contactee or you are an experiencer.
Well, it's probable. This is the second time that this has happened to me in my life. And the first time was a lot more dramatic than this, but this was pretty cool.
I'd say so.
Wow.
I'd say so. Good for you. That's fantastic. The fact that you're able to document it and take a video and photographs is like amazing.
It was my buddy who did it. I was too busy.
Go ahead.
Right. Jaw down.
I'm the calm person. I'd be getting all the photos. That's who I am. I'm everything goes slow motion for me when it's excitement, even if it's tragic, sadly, but it just moves really slow. That's why I said there's no way I've seen it, because that's something that I don't know. But I want to give a shout out to Jeannie Spencer, who's listening to us, because it's 2:10 a.m. where she's listening from.
Oh,
And I
wow.
just hope that, yeah, she writes, "Hi, ladies, late here. So just going to lay here and listen. I hope we don't put you to sleep, Jeannie." And I don't mean that in a bad way,
No,
in the best way, that you're still awake in 2 hours.
right.
Oh, thank you for tuning in and thinking of us. That's pretty late. 2 a.m. Are you in the UK? That's the only thing I can think of. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, where are we going to start this time? It's always interesting. You always have a whole melee of like awesomeness for us. I was very intrigued by a comment you had made about NDEs, but the after effects of NDEs, because I've heard of different things. Okay, I'm just going to say this. Okay, this clock hasn't been on since the last time we filmed a show here, which was pre-COVID. Okay, this clock just randomly decides it's going to start, and there is, I mean, it's just doing its own thing right now. So
that could be Margaret saying, "Don't sell."
Not during the show, though, Margaret.
It's really pretty. I'm just gonna say, I didn't hear it when I was there.
You're all welcome. Anyway, there's your little haunted thing for you. Yeah, but I know when people sometimes, and you can tell me if this is something similar when we talk about after effects. Sometimes when people get regressed, if they're not brought out of that regression properly, they end up being, I mean, it's like a lasting effect, almost like PTSD. You know, they'll suffer physically from it. They'll suffer mentally and emotionally, spiritually. I mean, everything. Is it the same idea?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
PTSD from the night of terror when I died, and then just the experience of dying and coming back, and then all the after effects that were completely unexpected. I had no idea what was going on for the longest time, and I was alone by myself, not just like on the mountainside, but I mean for years and decades. I was the only one who knew this about me. I kept it a big secret, and
Oh, that's difficult.
well, I learned very young from a childhood mystical experience to keep my mouth shut about it.
Yeah.
And so I carried that through subsequent experiences I had as a youth and right through college until this thing happened. And I realized that if I started talking about this and all the strange after effects that were happening live time to me, people would put me in an institution. I mean, that's how it was. I knew enough. I was a rational enough person to know that what I was experiencing, if I said it, people would think that I was irrational.
Right.
So
can you talk about some of those after effects? Okay.
I can. There's a whole bunch of them, and I think the first one that was so overwhelming was that I knew that I inhabited my body. So on the very base level of my experience in the world, I was not in the world. I was inside myself and still dominantly in heaven. So I explained it by saying I have one foot here and one foot there, or one eye here and one eye there. But the physical experience of this is this non-attachment to everything, and not just things, but to ideas and language and culture and religion and tradition. And all these things were very, even my own emotions. And the fact that I had to eat, I had to like consume this material to make this biological machine run was alien to me. I knew that I was a biological machine. I knew that I inhabited this body, and everything about me had radically shifted in terms of my perception. I could see light inside of absolutely everything. Every person in particular, but everything had this glow. But it was also behind sort of like a 1920s black and white, very flickery cartoon, very two-dimensional, very, very two-dimensional, very black and white, very no color. So when I was dead, I saw a bazillion colors I'd never seen before. And here it was colorless to me. And I was I was in one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life when this
Mhm.
first started happening to me. And to me, although it was a very beautiful place, it was nothing in comparison. And so what was robbed from me, okay, and I use that word advisedly. I'm like, what was robbed from me was, and it was one of the reasons why I was so angry for such a long time, that I didn't read the fine contract of when I agreed to come back in the first place. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't know this was going to happen. Life was full of suffering, which I had none of when I was dead. I was completely
Mhm.
healed and whole. And then back here, I'm in this world of suffering, and I know I'm an alien here. I know that nobody knows this, and I'm sort of like sneaking around in front of everybody, trying to not make social mistakes, because
Mhm.
so this roaring voice inside of me was always calling my name, always speaking my soul name to me, and giving me a direction in my life that also took from me the capacity to make the direction happen. So
Mhm.
I'm inside of me. There's this roaring sound of my own name being called, my soul name, and it's saying to me without language, "Speak this, share this," and then it took all of my words away, because there's no words to say, there's no words to contain this thing. And so I had this, one of my first after effects was this conflict between what I knew that I was being called to do and my zero capacity to do it. I,
That's hard.
yeah, it was, it took me, because I was by myself, it took me about 20 years to integrate and
Mm.
to be able to live with the mystical after effects. And there were lots of them. I see auras around people all the time. I don't see color. I see a shine,
Mm.
and it's about this far off of them, and it's animals and trees and everything else. And I not only see it with my eyes, I hear it with my ear, and I feel it with my heart, and I see it with the palm of my hand, and I feel it when I hug people. It's the radiant, people think of it as an aura or the shine, but it's yourself.
Mhm.
It's your true light self, and it's so attractive to me. And this is another after effect that happens to some of us.
Mhm.
I fell in love with everybody, like totally
Oh.
inappropriately, all the time.
Uh-oh.
Um, it was it
Right.
Restraining
was.
orders?
Say that again, Amelia.
Restraining orders?
No, not quite to that level.
Okay.
Thank God.
Just checking.
No. It's just that even with this black and white, superficial, two-dimensional, flickering world that I was in, I could still see the beauty of the light inside everyone, and I would
Right.
fall in love with that. I was always in love with this light and my beloved. So here's the other part of it: is no love here satisfies. No
Mm.
love here satisfies. I am in love with the beloved, with a capital B. I I'm not just smitten. I've been pining for decades now for this fulfilling energy to become totally who I am again. Um,
That's
those are
gotta be
just
really difficult. It's like having this void inside yourself, just trying to fill it, but you don't quite know what it's going to take to fill it.
but I decided to change my graduate level course. I was going to go into architecture, and I went to divinity school.
Mm.
And I went to divinity school to study mysticism. So I was toying with the monastery, because the monastery is where there's actually contemplatives who know the journey and how to get there. So I
Right.
decided to go to divinity school, and I got the dean of students. I went to Yale. The dean of students allowed me to have a 3-year independent study course of Western classical mysticism, and found money to bring in professors to teach me, and allowed me to take classes across the university. And
Wow.
so what I recognized from my undergraduate work was that there had been, like, I read Thoreau and Emerson, and that, which led me to the Upanishads, which led me to Lao Tzu. And so I had read a little bit around in the world, mystical traditions, and I realized that maybe there were people who went ahead of me who could teach me how to recapture what I had lost. And
Right.
so I went on this journey head knowledge and heart knowledge and practice in order to reconnect with the origin of myself. So even though I have 2 feet in the world, my left foot I'm in mud up to my thigh, and I can't really move around, and my right foot I can't really feel it anymore because it's kind of numb. So that's the way it was like for this longest period of time, is that I was stuck in the world, but I couldn't quite touch this thing that I knew I was myself, but the desire of all of my being. And so through practice, the meditative practice, and Kriya Yoga primarily, and centering prayer, which is a combination of Western mystical literature and Theravada Buddhism, it enters into the silence. I continued to practice daily for decades in order to carve a space inside myself, to make a space for the light to enter into me, not to manipulate it, not to ask for any gifts, not to ask for anything, but just expand the space for it to flow into. And it worked.
So you basically you find you can create your own reality within that space.
That's a way to put it. I'm already in my own reality.
Right.
Everybody's in their own world. I mean, that's just true for everybody. Everybody's in their own head with their own language and their own biology and their own. So everybody's world is only really as big as their head. And then there's the physical world outside them. But in cases of near-death experience or high-level mystical experiences, the self becomes negligible to nothing, and the false self, the body mind connection to the world, and there is in the now, in the silence, there really is no self, and so it's not so much a readjustment of self as it is a loss of self. And the loss of self actually is what is the connective chain that leads back to the divine.
That's really hard. Yeah. The whole connection. I mean, you're lucky that you can do that. I think people spend their entire lives trying to figure out how to do that.
Well, I figured that other people had spent their entire lives trying to figure out how to do that, and I could mine their data. And so that's what I did. I mined their data.
There we go.
And basically, here's the thing. Head knowledge makes no difference. It's not what you know.
Right.
It is what you practice. The practice is not about trying to gain in the world. It's just the opposite of that. It's trying to lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, you actually gain this divine. It's a deification of the self. And you can hunt in this book and in that book with this teacher and that teacher. What I realized, you asked about after effects. One of the major after effects that I experienced was the radiance of the divine presence in nature and radiating from people. And so I'm awash in this ocean. And I realized after my first death experience, being told to speak, that words were never going to contain it. You know, if you listen to Eckhart Tolle, he talks about how it's what's underneath the words and inside the words. And I discovered, because I was a church preacher, and then I had this TV show, and I discovered that I could weave the light inside the words. I could, if I work my throat chakra a lot, I work my heart chakra a lot, and I can do this energy transference. And I realized that this energy transference is the message itself. So I figure I'm like a log and a campfire, and I have a fire around me. It's not my fire, but I have fire around me, and there's another log in the fireplace and the campfire that's not really burning well. So you move it over to the first log, and then the flame connects the two, and it becomes one flame between them. I feel like my job is to be a log on fire to help other people's logs become illuminated, and then they don't need me anymore, because it's the fire inside of them that actually sees the fire inside of me. That's how it all works. And
it almost sounds like a little bit like the law of attraction.
It is sort of like that, but it's the light seeing itself. It's the light attracting itself, and it's not so much like I think the law of attraction works, but I'm not really interested in that. personally, I'm much more interested in my eternal life. I saw my other lives. I know that I'm not a human being. I know that I am an eternal person. I know that I'm known by the knower. I know where I'm from. I know where to whom I belong. Most of my energy besides living, because I got a grandchild and kids and a house and a mortgage
Sure,
and a
sure.
job and a career, all this, I got to mow the lawn.
You
I got to do all
gotta
this.
live your life, right?
Yeah, I got to live your life. But
Yeah. But do you find it's like going through the motions? Sorry, just to back up a minute.
Yeah.
When you say living your life, when you have something so much greater and you know it's there, this is what a lot of NDE people have said, just like, oh my gosh, how do you go from here to here? But do you find, and I'm not trying to minimize life, because I love my life and I've always had a sense that, I shouldn't be here. But do you find you're going through the motions or?
Yeah, a lot of that. That's for sure.
Okay.
There's been a lot of that in my life where
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I'm supposed to be, because
Right.
it's helpful to other people.
Right. And it allows you to be here to do whatever it is they sent you to do. Yeah.
Right. And I used those things to hide out for 20 years. So I hid in plain view. I was
Right.
a congregational minister. Nobody had any idea that this is what was going on inside of me. And so Shakespeare, you're on a stage, you're an actor on a stage, or whatever that quote is. That's how I could do that.
Right. Right.
I think a lot of us that kept it hidden felt that way. Just
Wow.
pretend.
Yes.
Why would you keep it hidden? Because everybody's going to think you're a kook.
Especially at the time that you and I went through it. Yeah, there was nothing out there. Wayne Mello says, let's remember that back in the day, it wasn't cool to simply chat about NDEs in an open way with just about anyone. No, it wasn't. And I had my last one in 2012 and I still didn't talk about it in 2011. And I didn't talk about it till 2013, 2014. So yeah.
Yeah. It's taboo.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing here, Amelia, is by our talking about it, we're making it safer for everybody else to talk about it. And the more of us that talk about it, the more normalized it becomes, because it's not, it's everybody. It doesn't matter what what zip code you're from or what your life is like. None of those things matter. It touches all sorts of people.
I know there's people that I'm related to that still don't believe me, but I really don't care, to be honest.
I don't think it's about
it doesn't change my life.
Your personal journey,
It is, but it's difficult when you're raised a certain way and you're not supposed to talk about it and stuff like that. I mean, I've disowned my aunts and whatever.
Sure. Well,
interesting comment. Thoughts
Hi,
from the
Michael
jury
Kennedy.
section?
Death is a lie. Michael Kennedy. Yep.
That's for sure.
It's the biggest one.
All right. Keep going, Peter.
Yeah, right. Well, let's see. Where was I? I was talking about
being on a stage.
I was talking about being on a stage.
Do that.
That I could do that because, and so I lived a closeted life. So I didn't. During my entire readjustment, I was, for the most part, a congregational United Church of Christ minister. And one of the reasons why I did that is because I could continue my research, because, ministers are scholars. So I continued reading all sorts of esoteric, mostly Western books, but pretty esoteric stuff in depth. And I continued my yoga practice and my meditation practice in public. Like, everybody saw me doing yoga and everybody saw me doing meditation. Nobody had any idea what I was doing. And my deacons would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, this is what really helps me power up." And they were like, "Okay, ask no questions." And so I continued. So near-death experience, even if you don't talk about it, it comes out in your life all over the place. You make decisions that other people won't make, or think are not a good decision. Or they'll think that you could have made a different choice. But when you know that you're not from here, it's a very freeing sort of thing. The temporality of life, it gives you sort of a superpower. So that's one of my after effects. I have this superpower of, no, I'm not from here. It's not going to last forever. And so in my ministry, I had this wild church ministry. I worked with the police. I helped. This is all. I know this is going to sound outrageous. I helped take down a murderer in my office, an on-the-run murderer escaped from a prison. I went into a potential shooting scene with a ballistic shield and cops with guns over my shoulders.
Did you
crazy.
live in that moment when that happened?
Oh yeah, I'm
Crazy.
totally right in it.
In it.
Boom.
Yeah, that's something I would be like right dead center
Oh, you have to be.
and aware.
Oh, you got to be like zeroed in, and
Yeah.
a lot of things that were quite unusual in my ministry. Opposing, we had this huge embezzlement where I was the minister, like very, very large embezzlement over a long period of time. Became state news, and there were prison terms and that sort of stuff. But during that entire time, the people who had fiscal malfeasance previous to the embezzler, who were protecting her, came after me financially, professionally, socially. And I live in this resort town. It's when these people were pretty formerly powerful people in their pre-retired lives. But you can't kill me. You can't really hurt me.
Think about it, but nope.
But nope.
Yeah. I keep coming back.
I gotta keep coming back because I'm okay with this. I was able to, with help, kind of clean up the town. So these powerful people, they sat on the board of the library and the hospital and the YMCA and the yacht club and the country club, and they poisoned every single organization in town.
Wow.
And because of my NDE, I have this extra after effect of courage. And I don't know what other words to say for than that.
It's a blessing.
It's a total blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tamara says, hi, Tamara. Near-death experiences give you the ability to take leap of faith decisions in your life. I 100%, 1,000,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
You become, it's just different. It's like when you lose someone in your life changes. When you lose your life for a few seconds or a few minutes or whatever it is, your life changes when you come back. I find that I was a little bit tougher in my decisions and not easily swayed as much or walked on as much, to be honest.
You see, what's there.
Yeah.
Got a glimpse. That's something that not everyone gets or doesn't recognize if it happens to them, and that allows you to be a little bit more fearless and, like I don't really, I always say it's the I don't give an F attitude.
Yeah, you take things more seriously.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you do, but you don't. You
Yes.
do, but you still, I mean, sometimes people might look at you because you throw caution to the wind a little bit more because you don't really fear what's coming. You don't live so regimented.
No, I agree with you there. When I say, sorry, I should explain myself. When I say you take things more seriously, meaning if you have a gift and it's enhanced by this, then you take, like I did, I stopped ignoring it.
Right.
And I said, okay, you know what? I really was chosen to do this. And it's not always something you want, but I have to follow through it because this is what I need to do in order to, for my feeling and my beliefs, in order to, vibrate even higher in the next level or whatever it is I need to learn. But I've always since little believed that no matter what I was going through, I always was so calm about things. Oh, it'll work out.
Me too.
I was never that person that,
true.
I was never that person. I was always, oh, it'll work out. It's fine. I'm not going to stress. It is what it is. I had that my whole life.
You really are my kindred spirit.
I am. You're on the other part of her soul. But seriously, we share a soul, not just a brain. But yeah, it really does. You tend to, I think you put yourself first, and that's what you have to do in order to help other people anyways. It's not a selfish thing. It's a selfless act.
Yep.
So
in order to help other people in a dangerous situation, you have to protect yourself first, because
absolutely,
if you don't take care of yourself, then there's two people in trouble.
It's the same thing with on a plane, right? That example of the flight attendant saying to you, put your mask on first, take care of your kids after that, or the person next to you after that. It applies to everything in life. Take care of yourself first. You will be of no use to anyone you love if you don't take care of yourself.
A lot
If
of
you're
people, it's
spent,
a
you're
simple
burnt.
message, but they don't get it.
No, it's so simple, and yet it's so difficult to achieve because we're so used to putting other people ahead spiritually as well. Ken has a comment. Hi, Ken. Ken says, my only previous life memory is my entry into this life, allowing me to live this life without fear. That's beautiful that you remember that.
So that's another question. Like, after having an NDE, did you come back? You say you were aware of past lives. How do you, because I'm aware of some past lives, a few of them actually, and at first it was very hard to exist in this time, knowing that you have loved ones maybe that that you've left behind in a different way, but they didn't all come back with you, or again, it's a time and space thing. So when you were made aware of this, I guess that's another setback in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, except for my experience was a little bit different than that. When I saw my other lives, I also saw myself as I actually was, and I was never any of my incarnations. I was
Okay.
I
living
remember you saying
inside
that.
my
Yeah.
bodies, and so even now I've wondered about the other lives, but I don't pursue it. I don't pursue them because I spend my time in pursuit of the oneness of being, and by having the oneness of being as a living experience in my life, that's all I really need.
That's
Right.
impressive, because what do you say to someone who has a longing for a past life and who constantly
Go ahead.
is reminded? Okay, no, I'm
Right.
curious of your opinion, because there are some people who can't let go of
Yeah,
a
if
certain life,
that's
and we never
right.
know why. We don't know if it's just residual and it stays there. We never really know or understand why. And regression therapy is not for everyone.
It makes me think of emotional triggers that we have in childhood as a result of certain experiences, and the experiences are forgotten, but the emotional trigger remains. And so, and I've been in therapy too. I've gone into therapy for different things in my life. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Talk
me
therapy
too.
helped me. The power of no self is that includes all previous incarnations. So the end of the false self, the end of the fearful self, of the egoic mind, all these different names for this thing, it frees you from attachment to yourself, your human self, and all of the other selves that you ever had before, because it brings you into the presence of the now, in the silence, in the center of your higher self, which is made of divine light, is divine light. So I sort of instead of taking the slow route from Earth to Pluto, I jump into hyperspace, and I'm there. As opposed to taking the longer route and having to fly all the way out and negotiate around every one of those planets. The practice of centering into oneness is this shortcut to yourself.
That's a major evolutionary step.
It's evolutionary. That's another after effect. People are like, evolution's real. Okay, science is real, evolution's real, but my real evolution, that was when I died. And when I die again, I'm going to evolve again. I'm going to go back to my higher self. But it was such a radical change that a leap in evolution is one of the ways I think about it.
Well, yeah, it's almost like you got a shortcut.
I did. I totally took a cheater's route. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah,
Did not earn it.
Oh, for sure, because people spend their whole lives trying to evolve and to create awareness, within their space, to be aware of things that are going on, and instead of just sort of, I always say it's like going through life with blinders on, and it's just in many ways, so life doesn't allow you, I think, in many cases, to stop and be aware of what's going on around you, even the most subtle things. I always say the dead leave signs all the time. It's the living that just either fail to see them or just can't see them. So, having an experience like yours, and Amelia, same, anyone, my NDE was, I was young, so I just really didn't have the same understanding of it. The clarity, it was just like anything that I saw was just gone,
Yeah.
But I think with that, I had an awareness from very early on. I think I was between 9 and 11 when that happened. I don't even really remember
You were
specifically.
really young.
I
Yeah.
was.
It's hard to remember those ones.
It is. But you know what? I always had a way of knowing that I was just different. And after that, I was, even at that age, aware of so many different things,
Yeah.
And I think that's even when like darker things had come in also, because I just opened
Yes.
right up in a different way. As a kid, I could see all kinds of things, but being after that experience, when I start thinking back of timelines, I'm like, okay, so this is when I started experiencing darker energies. So do you find that when you step into these things, it's like everything gets a glimpse of you?
Yeah.
What do you
Right?
mean? Go ahead, Amelia.
No, she's asking you. She knows my answer.
Yeah, it's almost like I always say when you step into that other side for a moment, it's just like there are things there that you may not necessarily, whose attention you may want to get.
This is why I decided early on, because I had an experience within a year
Right.
where that happened, that I was going to do my best not to trouble the waters where I shouldn't be swimming.
Right.
And
Yeah.
not knowing what I was encountering, not having any
Right.
help, that played into my whole pursuit of just the oneness of being. And so I set all of my attachment of my interior life and my pursuit toward that one single thing. Also, seriously, because that's what everybody says through all the literature around the world. Everybody and
Right.
every mystic who ever was a mystic, really a real mystic, they all say the same thing. Different language, different culture, different symbols, but they all say oneness of being.
Like the swamis and the yogis and things like that. Yeah.
Nirvana,
Kind of scary,
samsari,
right? I
heaven.
wonder if that's what creates the fear. Your fear of being that dark.
Well, I think people are afraid, and the pursuit of it partly because the egoic mind doesn't want to let go, and it's willing to throw up any sorts of barriers that it's possible to kind of prevent you from destroying the thing itself.
Yeah, except
but-
for serial killers and child molesters.
Well, there are biological and sociological exceptions for sure.
Absolutely. I believe
absolutely.
that. I worked that field for years. I still do,
Yep.
but there are attachments with many of these. If I could just share something,
Sure.
I wonder about how we spoke last time in the show, how what you feel, what you believe, you kind of sort of manifest at that point. I think about this just now. I thought about it. When I was 18 with my first NDE, I was at Toronto General Hospital. With my second one, I was at St. Joseph's Hospital, where I was constantly visited by a priest. I was constantly seen by clergy and, a nun, and we've got crucifixes everywhere. I swear the first one I came back with something, but the second, third, fourth, yada, yada, there was quite a few of them that week. I was clean as a whistle and sharp. Any thoughts on that? Like, I'm curious with your experience.
I think you do come back as an attractive light, and it attracts. Hey.
It's getting louder.
The clock that hasn't been on in over 2 years is letting me know all of a sudden it's on.
First time I came to your house, it was working, but that was 2018.
I filmed after that,
ago.
and
Yes.
it's been quiet because
Yeah.
people film in the house and it's distracting. And all of a
That is
sudden
so
it
funny.
starts tonight, and
We'll have to check that out tomorrow.
lovely thing. Lovely thing. Sorry, Peter.
So that's all right. No, attachment to dark entities. I definitely had this same entity that I was exposed to within the first year. It came after me numerous times in that night terror state between waking and sleeping. And I found that by clinging to the light, calling on the light, it would be depowered. Darkness can't take the light. And so I think maybe you did make we get vulnerable when we travel. outside. This is the reason why I've chosen not to practice astral projection.
Yeah, no.
I've heard
I've
that
been
too.
out of my body a whole bunch of times, but I have not initiated it. The divine,
No.
the angelic being comes and takes me and brings me where the divine wants me to go instead of me
I'm with
cruising
you on
around.
that.
Well, because I don't
Yep.
know what's out there. It's like
You're
Michelle said.
tethered. You could be lost for good.
Yeah, and no
Yeah.
thanks for that. I'd rather have
No.
a guide, and I'd rather go where they want me to go rather than where I want to go, because where I want to go is attached to my own false self, my own fearful self, and so it's like not trustworthy.
Yeah. For me, that last NDE, my mother was forward in that and was like, you need to go back. And I believe that she had a great deal in the cleansing of me when I came back. And then it just stayed that way because I was still very, very, I mean, I was raised as a Roman Catholic, but I was still that way practicing at the time. And I believe that, you know, with my intention and my belief in her intervention, I stayed okay, you know, safe, because it could have come out really bad for me. I was gone a few times on the same table.
Yeah.
What do you mean by bad for you?
I wonder, because I have such a huge curiosity and always have for the darkness. And I wonder, like, if I had been there just a little bit longer, or
But I
someone
think
wasn't
that's
there to
normal.
turn me around. I was very happy to be there. I was very happy to go. I was not uncomfortable at all. Not scared. I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Yep.
This is really nice. What do you mean I gotta go back? Are you kidding me?
Which is going to bring us to this. Now, this is going to be backtracking just a little bit.
A little
and
bit.
Jeannie,
That's
so
my
you know,
fault.
Peter's been on. No, I mean, like, just for the question.
Oh,
Peter's
yeah,
been on the show twice. I invite you to go check out the archives because they are amazing, where he goes in more detail about what you're asking. But if you could just basically kind of go into it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit on what Jenny is asking.
Yeah.
Jeannie, is asking if you could explain what triggered your first NDE.
Yeah.
I made a poor choice on my ice climbing equipment. I had a very terrible 24 hours, and I died of hypothermia in Western Canada, in the Alberta, the province of Alberta, in what park? Banff Provincial Park.
Yes.
Most
So I died
beautiful
of.
place in Canada. Sorry.
Oh my God, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Emerald
go.
Lake is there. Yeah. If you
that's
want
the
to do
place.
something, go to Banff.
Yeah.
If you don't mind the
exactly.
cold all year round.
Yeah,
Right.
it's cold, but
Yeah.
so beautiful. But anyway, I
Yeah,
died
the
ice
Stanley
climbing.
and the Stanley. The hotel.
And the what?
I call it the Stanley Hotel because it reminds me of The Shining. The
Yeah.
Fairmont is there. The haunted Fairmont.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. It's
I've
right
heard
on
of that.
Emerald Lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Deep
So
in the mountains, just like the Stanley.
that is the answer then, and this is her experience.
Jeannie says, I've only had one NDE in 1979. I was in the hospital after just giving birth. I was just 19, not been able to talk to anyone. Oh, I understand that.
It's really hard.
I was
yes.
18 with my first, so I understand that's really tough when you're that young.
So
You will get so much comfort by listening to those archives when you hear Peter speak about that experience.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
so-
I jumped on you there.
No,
I was
it's okay.
I was
There's a lag.
Oh, good. I was going to recommend to Jeannie that she goes to iands.org, iands.org, or nerdef.org. I don't know how to spell nerdef, but those are places where you're going to encounter other people like yourself. I was alone with this until 2015. I started coming out around 2011-ish. But once I found my tribe, and Amelia and Michelle are in my tribe. We're a big tribe. There's tens of millions of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. Yes.
Hi, Michael. Yes. So getting into more after effects, which ones? I mean, it seems that you've been able to pretty much deal with most of them. Have there been any specific ones that you've struggled with, or maybe are still struggling with?
It took me a long time to adjust to this constant deja vu.
Oh.
So I live sort of ahead of myself. I
Mm.
see what's going to happen moments from now before it happens. And
Mhm.
it's disconcerting, and sometimes it's like this big huge wave that runs through me. I feel like I shift in and out of time for a second, and it's sort of everything elongates, and I can see what's about to happen. I can just
Mhm.
see what's going to happen and know what this person's going to say, and but not like an hour ahead of time or a month ahead of time, but like just
Mm.
moments ahead of time. So there's always like this wave just ahead of me, like the bow wave on a boat. As I go through the water, it's just pushing this time thing in front of me, and I'm able to see into it, and it's totally disconcerting. It was for
Mm.
decades, and I finally realized that I finally came to understand what was going on, or at least I have an idea about what was going on, which is when I died and I chose to come back, I chose the life I was going to live. I was given all these opportunities, choose
Mhm.
among all of these lives, and I chose this particular life. And as I went into the tunnel of this life, back into my human self, there were all these probability of choices, all these probable choices, stretching out for the length of my life, like like roots of a tree. And I choose this one, and now I'm going this way, and I'm going that way, and I'm going this way, and I'm going that way. All of them were probabilities. I saw all of them, and so now I'm traveling down this one route as I make decisions and choices. And because that was one of the probabilities, it becomes an actuality for me. And because I saw it ahead of time, I see it ahead of time, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so it would always throw me off. I'd be like in a meeting, and I'd get this wave flow through me, and I'd be like, whoa, or whoa. I wouldn't do that, but in my insides, I was going, whoa. And meanwhile, people are talking to me. And so
Mhm.
I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm paying attention. But meanwhile, time and space are bending for me. Um,
Right.
it was it sounds like a minor thing maybe, but it's a major thing when it happens all the freaking time. And
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah.
it's annoying.
It's annoying. It's hard to. Tamara
Yes.
asks, do you get the slowdown of time with the deja vu? Good Lord.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's me. Is that whoa, that maybe that
It's that
wow.
whoa.
Do you,
It's like
Whoa. Right.
do you lose your balance in I can't catch my breath sometimes.
I sort of have a moment out of time when it's super intense, so I can't really trust my body. But I've never. I have a natural. I'm naturally balanced. I'm really good at physical things,
Good.
just the way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm
And after
not.
my NDE, so here's another after effect. After my, so all I didn't play Little League very well because I could never catch the damn ball. After
Right.
my NDE, I could catch everything. Things would come flying at
Wow.
me from behind me. I could just catch it, just catch it, hit it with my foot, grab it with my hand, and just like,
Right? Maybe you should be like hitting it for the MLB. Like, what the heck?
well, I don't think I was ever that good. Not
You
any.
never know.
No, but I did play second base Sunday softball till I
Nice. I
died.
love softball.
That's
Love
great.
softball. Yeah, I love it. We played as a
Um,
family growing up. Very competitive athletes in my family. But anyways,
Mhm.
that's a fun game. That is so cool that all of a sudden you had this like
I
Spider-Man
had this
kind of.
spidey sense. I could just, I could, I don't know, measure space and
It's like
distance better.
superhero stuff. Like you
That
hear about
really
that with
is.
NDEs.
I
Like
didn't get any superhero
it's like
stuff.
yeah. I've heard it called like a superhero something. I guess you just come
Feeling really
back.
left out. Just saying.
You got other
Whatever.
gifts, I'm sure, Amelia.
I
Yeah. Whatever.
my sight was enhanced and
Yeah.
my viewing and everything, but I don't have anything cool like you. Like
There we go.
because if I did, I'd be challenging my brothers to a game right now.
Yeah.
So you become more specially sensitive. Yes,
Very.
Tamara.
And I could hear. So
Yeah.
here's another weird thing. I was working when I was in divinity school. I stayed in New Haven in the summertime, and I got a job for an all women's company, and she installed perennial and annual flower beds and had a shop. And I could hear the plants when they were thirsty. I could hear, like, I had
Mm,
super sensitive hearing. Now I'm older and I can't hear as well anymore.
mm.
But there was this long period of time where I could hear, like, the plants, that there's like this clicking inside them. Click, 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 click. I could just hear it. And I would
Wow.
water all the plants, and ended up so that during this period of time, I turned one of the rooms an associate minister after this happened, and I still kind of worked with this company on the side. I had 80 plants in my house. Like I had banana trees and I just like I had a jungle inside my house.
Nice though. That's beautiful.
That
It
is.
was great because
Yeah.
they radiated the divine presence that I could feel. That's
Mhm.
another after effect, is that out in nature, the presence of the divine is palatable to me. It's like this hum just inside of everything.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well,
That's
everything has a
amazing.
frequency. It's all about frequency, vibrations, right?
Peter,
So you just
Spider-Man,
somehow were
Panagore.
allowed to tap into that.
Well, meditation. That's how
Mm.
I tap into the frequency by aiming at the oneness. I'm not trying to pick like this gift and that gift and this thing and that thing.
No,
I
just it's everything.
just get the one thing and you get everything,
Yeah.
or the things or the gifts that you need. Maybe not the ones you want. So I would have done anything else in my life
Right.
if I could have. For real. I mean,
I think we all would, except
Yeah.
it's funny because growing up, I always wanted to be psychic. It's just the dumbest thing.
maybe
we
you
have
had
another
And I've
a-
had
question.
sight. I've had sight my whole life. I had it before any of that. Hi,
Hey,
Sherry.
Sherry.
Sherry says, "Hi, Peter. Question: Did your experience change your perspective and/or belief in God?"
completely. Sherry, I came back not a believer. I had
Ah.
been born again, charismatic,
Wow.
Catholic, charismatic, slain in the spirit, believer for a period of time in my life. But when I died, after that period of time, I didn't believe in anything anymore. Not even language, not words, not culture, not society, not religion, nothing. It was like a chip was removed from my motherboard, and then those holes where the chip used to be, they didn't exist
Mm.
anymore. And I got and the motherboard didn't exist. I got a whole new power system, and I
Mm.
I know that I'm known by the knower of all. I know that I'm known. I know where I'm from. I know to whom I belong, and it's not belief. I have this unshakable, and you were alluding to this, Amelia. I am unshakable. My name is Peter. It means rock. I am a rock when it comes to this. I can't be moved off it because it's real. It's
Right.
like I don't have to believe in the glass. I know the glass is real. I can hold it in my hand. The same is true for me for heaven, for the divine. And so, yes, I went off to divinity school, and I describe myself as someone who works in religion, and I talk about mysticism with a Christian accent. But I'm not a Christian. I'm a devotee of Jesus. Do I think he was a major enlightened being? Yeah. I've got a YouTube channel dedicated to the deconstruction of the sayings of Jesus from an NDE perspective. I think the guy, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I went to Catholic high school, we read a gospel every year. So I kind of knew Jesus in the Bible, a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a
After I
little bit.
died,
I did that schooling too.
yeah, you get a little exposed to it. But when I came back and I
Yeah.
started reading his words again, they had an entirely different meaning.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure.
I'm
He's
sure, I mean,
talking
we
about,
have people.
he always talks in metaphor.
Right.
And I
Yes.
describe it as, his original language was Aramaic, and his
Yes.
other language was angelic. That's how I kind of balance it out. So,
Right.
so
Oh,
there's
I
this
like
thing,
that.
there's this thing in Maine where I live called Franglish, and there's Spanglish in other parts of the country where you speak French and English at the same time, and you
Yes.
use it almost interchangeably, but you keep the correct syntax. Right. So when you're speaking French, you're speaking the right grammar. And when you're speaking English, you're speaking the right grammar, but you kind of mesh them up together. That's what Jesus was doing the entire time he's talking. He's talking in Aramaic, but he's speaking metaphors. So I'll talk about the prodigal son. The prodigal son, there's this egoic mind who is given everything and rejects the divine and leaves the divine and goes to live a profligate life. That's a big church word, profligate life.
I can't even say it.
I know it took me a long time. I had to learn how to pronounce it, frankly. Which is the egoic mind in the world, and then recognizes its deprivation and goes back to the divine in humility and in humility and deep humility, and is welcomed with extravagance. And so this is the story of humanity's experience of a twofold: leaving the divine and coming into the world and returning to the divine, and also of the egoic mind. In the midst of all of that is that the mind is the thing that's in the way of our experience of the divine here, and we can go back and be welcomed by the divine now.
Right.
So that's one example. Another one is Jesus is telling the disciples to throw the nets over the side and catch the fish. The net is like a net of light. It's it light collects divine self. So the more you throw your net overside into the ocean, the more you're going to collect of the ocean of the divine. The more you
It's
collect,
like loaves and fishes.
It is.
It
Right.
is like loaves and fishes. Yeah. People take it literally instead of metaphorically.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fascinating. So you would just automatically be able to decipher these now, and
All
you
the
see
time.
what the true meaning. Right.
Yep. And now,
Another
right now,
aspect
I'm using the Gospel of Thomas. So I spent 2 years kind of building up to this by doing a lot of biblical deconstruction around mythology and symbol and throughout the Bible. And now all of it was prep work to get to the Gospel of Thomas, which was dug up in 1945 and has not been really researched for 2,000 years like the other Gospels have.
Are you
So it's
doubting him? See how I fit that in?
I do. That's very good. Right. No, I never doubt. That's the other thing. So when I got belief taken away, I
I'm
lost
just
all my doubt.
teasing. I'm teasing. I have someone in my family we call Doubting Thomas. It's just, I'm teasing.
Is his name really Thomas?
No, and it's a she.
Oh.
It's just like, I don't believe that. I'm like, what a surprise.
Well, it's totally cool with that. One of the other side effects is I don't care if people believe me or not.
No, it's not her. It's not her believing me. It's believing anything at all. It's
Right.
just one of those quirks, and everybody's got their thing, right, and their personality. That
And in the end, when you die, you see. That's it. And so it doesn't really matter a whole heck of a lot.
Do you see more every time? Like how? I mean, actually, there's a question here. I'll let you just roll my question in after her
Two.
question. Amelia. Two.
Two near-death
yes,
experiences.
with Summer. Yeah. Okay, you caught
And a
that.
bunch of other sorts of rather extraordinary mystical experiences.
Right. So do you find after, you went through these amazing, I guess, different awakenings the first time, did it change or improve the second time?
The second
Or
time
was
I
it an
died,
extension of,
no, I was more aware of what was going on. The first
Right.
time I was like, "You're not taking me. I don't know what's going on. You better back up."
That's interesting, considering like the amazing experience you had the first time. You think you would have been,
Well, the second time, that was the first time. The second time, I was I was lying. I was when I was alive. I was when I was dying.
Right.
That's why. So I was at this dinner tonight with the extended family for this wedding that I mentioned as I came in.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there with some extended family I haven't seen for a long time, and we're talking about what happened to me. This guy wanted to know. He's a new member of the family. He's like, "So what's your deal?"
Yeah,
And,
it's a huge
What's
story,
your
even without the
deal?
NDE.
I like that.
It's a huge story.
What's your
Seriously.
deal?
And so my wife,
but even without the NDE, you think about it.
what do you mean?
It's huge that, you died, you grew, rock climbing in Banff. That's a huge story, even if you didn't have a spiritual experience. It's a very interesting story in itself.
Well, it's going to be made into a movie. I just thought I'd
No.
slide that in. I've been working on that for a couple of years.
Bam. Yeah.
Good
We're
for
making
you.
great progress now. Right now, we're making great progress.
Very cool.
Fantastic.
I'm so happy for you. And for
So
everybody that's going to be able to.
That's the point of it for me, is to spread the word as best I can. As I'm sure you two know, when you touch the divine, you see yourself as who you are, which is very, very small in comparison.
Yeah.
So always
I think so.
Sometimes not so pretty either.
not so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you just bring magnificent things throughout your past lives, and you didn't do anything with it in your past lives. Maybe now it's a point where they're like, all right, snap out of it. Make it count this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's your chance.
Yeah, I think so.
Ken's got a great question. Peter,
Yeah.
do you have foresight into your next life?
No, but I can tell you what I
Ooh.
want. I have these two ideas. One, never to come back here again. Thank you very much.
Oh God,
Wow.
please. I'm on that list. I'm on that list. People think
and
I'm crazy. I feel like I've done high school 100 times.
I know. I feel like I'm staying back in third grade.
Ugh.
And I, there's still evolution on the other side. Just because I've seen very clearly that
Yeah.
my level of consciousness, even in the State of the Union that I entered into, was not the end game. The end game was beyond that. And that's what I want. I want that end thing. But so if I have a choice, that's my choice. If I have plan B. So there's A, and B is, okay, I'll come back if I can be like a bodhisattva. If I can be like fully awakened and
Right.
help, right? That'd be great. But I
Fully
realize that,
connected to source.
yeah, fully connected to source.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any of those negotiating powers, but that's what I think about. No, I can't see what's next. And I can see this though. I can see the light of myself. I can see that the eye where Meister Eckhart, I'm stealing this from him. The eye wherein I see God, God sees me. I am this light being. I see that very clearly. If I can continue to, if that's my future, that's what I want, to be more and more made of light and less made of matter. And however that, or things.
Transpires, yeah.
That's a big evolutionary step, But if you can achieve so much this time around, you may not have to do so much the next time around. You may end up in a place. If it's free will, I think you can go anywhere on the time spectrum that you want to be in.
Well, I definitely had the choice. I mean, I made decisions when I was dead. I chose the timeline I was gonna live.
Right. Right. And you came back to this one.
Yeah. And then the second time, as I was dying, I was happy. I didn't know. I was like, "Oh, today's the day." I didn't know I was going to die today. It's great. I'm in the ER. The doc tells my wife and my son that I'm probably going to die on the way to the catheterization lab because I'm already outside the golden hour. I have a massive heart attack. I've got 100% blockage in my widowmaker. I'm an hour and a half through Saturday traffic in the summertime in vacation land to the catheterization lab. And he says to say goodbye to me. So my son is completely distraught and says goodbye to me. And my wife looks at me and I look at her and I smile and I wink. She tells the story tonight over dinner and he winked at me.
Like it was funny.
Right.
She's distraught and you're like, hey, doll.
Right,
hey, doll.
Right.
And so then when I left, so I'm in the ambulance and they gave me this drug. They gave me they said maybe a 3% trickle through my widowmakers. There's a little bit of a few cells passing through, and I can't take opiates. They make me sick. So I'm in the back of the ambulance.
To them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're bad. They can make me. I know. You only make that mistake once, right?
I found out. Yeah, that's how I found out with the first NDE. I was 18.
Yeah.
Passed out and almost died from codeine. Yes.
Yeah, you don't do that twice.
Second one, they gave me morphine. That was a trip.
Yeah, I couldn't do that either. And so I meditated the whole way, and to control my pain. And when I heard the meditation, you can control your pain with meditation. That's one of the. It's not a hard thing to do.
High level, no, Peter. Really?
No. It's
my gosh.
You just have to. So here.
Excuse me.
Here's the way I learned how to do it. I sit in a zazen style on a zafu and a zubuton, like a pillow, and I tuck my legs underneath me, and my ankles are flat to the floor. And when they
I
start,
be able to get back up. But okay.
Well, it's hard when your feet start to hurt. When they really start to hurt, you look directly at the pain. You breathe right into the hurt itself, and then and as you breathe into the hurt, you relax everything else. And what happens is that you just float above the pain, and it's not
that
magic.
When I was in labor.
Yeah, that's what. Yes,
just
exactly.
Through it. Yeah.
And so I'm meditating through my pain to keep my pain at bay, and I hear the paramedics say that she's losing us. losing me. And I open my eyes and I see her fearful face, and she's professional. So she slips back in her game face, and I close my eyes again because the pain is terrible. And as soon as I close my eyes, I'm back inside myself, but I'm not inside myself. Now I'm outside myself, and I am sort of floating. I'm not in the ambulance. I'm sort of in the bottom end of the tunnel, looking sort of into my human life, and the angelic being, this one I know, comes floating down like it was a bubble, but it was self-willed, and it was speaking in the plural, non-linguistic, no language, okay? But it's speaking directly inside of me. Come to us. It's time for you to go. We've been waiting for you. Love, 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 love. And I just like, hey, take my hand. Let's get out of here. So I start to go, and then I think to myself, well, wait a minute. I remember my son's face.
See, that's where I would have a problem, or my children.
Yeah, so I decided to like, hold up. I'm going to check this out. And so I stick my consciousness back inside my dark inner space, and I can see my son's face. And what I see, I read his emotional life. He's not prepared for me to go. He's like completely distraught. He's in his middle 20s at this point. And he grabbed my hand and he leaned in close and said, I love you, Dad. And there was so much history and emotion.
Does it go on every 20 minutes?
It's every half hour.
Okay.
But it's not doing
Sorry,
big
Peter. I was
song and
just
dance.
curious
I'll
to
mute it next
to
time
see
it
if
goes
it's
into this
time.
whole thing. So,
It's
your
okay.
son-
It is right. Is
It's
it
very
what's
pretty,
causing
though.
it? Right.
It's very pretty.
So your son's face.
So my son's
Yeah.
face, he's
Still
leaning in,
needed
and
to.
I read his emotions.
Yeah.
And then I think about my daughter, and she had just left an abusive marriage. He had gone off to Afghanistan. There was moral injury. There were terrible things that happened with a brand new 3-month-old baby.
Oh, geez, that's awful.
3 months, 6 months. I'm sorry, 6-month-old
Yeah.
baby had just left him, and now I'm like in the hospital. So I'm looking at, I'm in the ambulance, and I look at her, and I look at my granddaughter, who I had overnight last night, 7 years later, and I could see my granddaughter's parallel lives. I could see two lives. I could see her life with me and her life without me. And it was going to be okay either way, but with me, she was going to be, she had a father figure.
Strong.
And I was going,
Yeah.
and I am that person. And so I saw those comparisons. I was like, oh, she really needs me. The kids need me too, but the granddaughter, she's going to have an entirely different life if I'm here. And so I turn around, I look back up the tunnel, and the angel, the divine being, the angel of light, comes like rushing down again. It had like politely backed away. So it rushes back down again. And I say to it telepathically, hey, if it's all the same to you, I'm staying. And I just sort of turned away and went inside, back in again. And I had been telling my wife since we got married, because I died before we got married the first time, that first chance I got, I was going.
That's reassuring.
I'm out of here.
Did you wink?
That's why I winked. I was like, hey, babe, I'm
Here
done.
we are.
It's retirement time.
The
And
life
I'm-
insurance is in the filing cabinet.
Right, making sure the insurance is played out.
Oh.
Right. And so
that's
before I even get to the ER or to the urgent care center, I was lying on the grass. I was in a yoga class. I started having a heart attack. I'd been an ambulance attendant for part of my life. And I'm like, so I diagnosed myself. I'm like, oh, this is a heart attack. Oh, but it can't be a serious one. I ran 5K yesterday. I'm like super fit. So I go and I lay down outside, and I realize it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I decide, I should probably get up and give it a try. Maybe I could save myself. And I can't get up. And then I'm lying there thinking, I am the luckiest guy. I get to go home today. I've been praying for my death every single day since the day that I died. So for 20 years, I practice my meditation. I practice my Kriya Yoga.
I've never heard anyone say that.
It's usually
you're
the
first.
Free to live.
Yeah.
That is
you're
life.
First.
That's the thing.
But he's evolved. He's much higher than I am. So he's got like a different connection to source and somewhere else to go than what I've seen.
I got somewhere to go. I got places to be.
Right.
But
not this day.
But not this
Not
day.
this day.
But
Not
also
this
because
day,
I know
Death.
that the length of the life is the snap of a finger.
Right.
And
I know. I just feel
so
for the ones we leave behind. That's where my
Yes.
heart breaks.
that's the
Yeah.
problem. That's the problem.
I know what
Mm.
it's like to lose your
Yep.
mother at a young age. I know what it's like to live without both parents. So it's like I know what it's like to lose a baby, my brother. I don't want to, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to outlive anybody. I want to be the first to go, but not
Mm.
like my daughter needs me, kind of like that's what stays with me is my daughter.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I've already
And
put it out there. I'm creating my own reality. I'll sit here and be a very hardy old bat who's full of piss and vinegar and warrior mode all the time because I will get my family through it one way or another. And if I go, I'll go, but I won't go far.
No,
I'll always be here to keep an eye on them. And I
I
think you can
agree.
do just as good a job, on the flip side as you can here, probably more so.
That would be the only reason, the only way you could keep me on this plane
Yeah.
is because I'm there to watch over her. Because otherwise,
But
I don't
it's not to
want
be
back
stuck.
in.
You go,
I don't.
you evolve, you do what you need to do. You just keep, the one way,
I think we're
the one way
thinking with
path
ego
over.
when we think that way too.
Probably
Because
though.
because I can tell you, I wasn't thinking of anything or anyone when I was on the other side. It was just
Mm.
keep going, Amelia, keep going. This is
yep.
nice. This is all enveloping love.
So you
It
don't
was,
think of the loved ones that
you
you're
don't
leaving
think of
behind at
anything. My
certain
mother was
times.
the one that
I
was
didn't.
going, you need to go
Really, eh?
back. Your daughter needs you. Yeah.
Others do. Others have a different experience, but
Mm.
not for me. Not for you, apparently, either, Amelia.
No,
Mm.
that's why I think that's why I flatlined so many times was because I didn't want to leave and they
So
were
did you get it
pulling me
right this
back.
time? Dang it.
Yeah, it's like stop it,
This is the
stop it, go
fourth
back,
row.
stop it.
I know.
You know,
Yeah, it is hard. I could see how it could be hard. I'm happy it happened to me at a young enough age that I don't have that same recollection aside from taking a last breath and just
at 18,
becoming
I
very
wanted
calm.
back in.
Yeah, but I mean, from that point, I'm glad I don't have that recollection. Yet I can seem to put myself many different places, even being fully physical alive, and so
That's
I think it
yeah.
goes beyond for me. I can achieve a lot of things even without that memory. It
Oh,
seems
well,
like I
yeah, you
brought
don't
a
need the
lot of it back
memory.
with me.
Yeah, you
No,
brought the light with you. You have
Yeah.
noetic knowledge. You have wisdom
Mm.
that's lodged inside the soul that comes as a gift as a result of such an event. And whether you understand it or not doesn't make any difference. It
Well,
comes
you
out
don't
of you.
even know where half of it comes from most of the time. You just
Nope.
know it,
Yep.
right? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I
that's
like
funny
that.
because after my first NDE and I was 18, almost 19 years old, and my life changed for the better in the next 3 years. It just changed. It just got better and better and better.
Mm.
Never
Bless
thought
you.
about that till now. Yeah.
Well, I find that NDE keeps revealing itself to me. I keep learning new things about my NDE, and I keep
Mm-hmm.
understanding new parts of my life that I didn't understand any of my early life mystical experiences until I died. I mean, I experienced them and I had knowledge
Mm.
from them, but I didn't understand them in their context until I died. And then all of
Mm.
the symbols that I had seen just made sense suddenly. Okay, that's what that meant. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
what this is supposed to do. Now I get it.
Right,
But only
Yeah.
through the passage of time.
Mhm.
right.
I still go through depression and anxiety just like anybody does. It didn't change that for me. Therapy was very prevalent in my life for a lot of years.
Mm.
But I like what Tamara says. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it feels like a curse.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I've often thought of it as a curse.
right?
And I stopped
Especially when
saying
you
it because
can read
people
other people. It's really tough in your
y-
personal relationships when you can read other people. It's not easy having that BS meter. It can become painful.
truth hurts.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's funny because I used to believe everybody. I used to believe everybody was telling the truth. Now the first thing I see is I think everybody's lying and I have to see the truth come out. I don't see that anymore like I used to before. I
Mm.
would always believe anything anybody told me. Now it's like,
Evolution.
Yeah.
Evolution. So maybe
Yeah.
this is a good time to break into station ID.
Yes,
sponsor
we'll
ID.
definitely do. I'm just going to click on that right now. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful, gorgeous city of New Orleans. We are on 105.3 FM radio. Tonight, we've got our third host. Peter Panagore is here in the house with us, talking all about NDEs and the side effects and the continued effects of them, which is so fascinating. I'm learning so much right now. Stream or listen to our archives in any platform that you normally use. We are everywhere. Seriously. Big thank you to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee for fully sponsoring our show from day one. We love you so much. We thank you so much. Without you, we wouldn't be here. No one loves you more than Michelle and I. And we have a big thank you to the voice that you hear and the music that you hear in our intro and outro, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on Amazon, Bandcamp, and anywhere where you normally stream. Find him on Facebook and Instagram if you're looking for him on social media. Thanks, Folgers.
There we go. So let's talk consciousness. It's one of my favorite topics, consciousness. After you go through something like this, you pretty much are, I mean, we're all part of a collective consciousness to start with, but how does it change when you go through an experience like this?
Well, the first thing is I know that my consciousness doesn't originate in my body.
Okay.
And so I guess that's the largest thing, is that I know that I inhabit my body and I inhabit my brain. And my consciousness existed before I was born, and it will exist after I die. And it's existed for eons. It can't be killed. It can't. And I suppose it can experience obliteration, which is what my spiritual dream is, to fold back into the oneness of being, and to exist unseparated.
But you have the choice to be unseparated. Is that part of what free will is?
Yeah, I think so, except for as a created creature, I didn't make myself as a separate entity. I became one by the divine collective, I guess.
Right.
And then I had and still, I mean, I had free will in heaven. I had free will when I was dead. So I expect free will for a while.
But you become one again with that collective.
Well,
right?
I think that there are multiple levels of heaven. I think that my experience of it was that the closer I got to the divine being, the less of myself was present, the less of my consciousness self was present. Like layers of my consciousness were peeled away to a clearer clarity of the single photon that I am.
Right.
Deep, more intense. But as for consciousness here, it can be pursued. My consciousness. So when I was dead, I was huge. And when I came back into my body, I was teeny tiny. And when I was I was studying mime, went back to my university. And my mime teacher was a yogi who studied with Marcel Marceau. And Marcel Marceau taught about chi. And apparently, I never studied with the man myself, but that kind of came through the school. Once I felt my prana or my chi, I realized that I extended outside my physical body, and that I could move my consciousness from the interior of myself to the exterior of myself. Not like move it out of myself, but like stretch it larger than my physical form. And so consciousness is the same. The consciousness that powers my body is the same consciousness in which I sense the divine light in the world. And so there's not a separation from that. It's one self.
Right. Do you, talking about consciousness and awareness, we talked a little bit about astral projection. There's a strong belief that if the consciousness, which is, I guess, the essence, leaves the body, that another consciousness has the ability to enter. And you hear about these cases all the time. It's just like people, they wake up, it's like, they don't even know their loved ones. Do you think that's a possibility? Because it is a theory.
It's a possibility. I haven't witnessed that, and I've not experienced that, so I don't know
Right.
that. But I suppose
It's kind
anybody
of a
could drop
chance you
it in.
take when you have these NDEs also.
Well, yeah, I didn't. That never concerned me.
Yeah.
When I was dead, I didn't give a damn about my body.
Right.
It was my body meant nothing to me.
Right.
It
Right.
wasn't me, and so let it go back to the worms in the earth.
Okay, so let's take it a step further. We're living in an age of technology with artificial intelligence where there's
God.
talk about putting
Oh,
consciousness
So
into
cringe.
AI, which means do we essentially become prisoners? Because if it never dies, then what happens to consciousness? It's a
thank God for
scary thought. That's
death.
a nightmare.
Thank God for death. I don't know if you caught the news last week about one of the designers for Google AI got released. Yes, that's it. Right. So
Yeah.
you did read that, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what that all means, but I know that I'm really glad that I'm gonna die. I'm
But
really because
but what if, I mean, some people can do this on purpose. They want to live forever. It's like, no, throw my consciousness into this artificial body.
Because this earth is so like, just have to be here every day.
yeah, it's really paradise, right?
But I mean, there's, there are theories that people
Oh, yeah.
like literally get their consciousness taken if you're, let's say when you're having an NDE, or there apparently are people out there who can do that and just slip you into
Wonder if
an
Musk
AI.
signed that deal.
I don't know. In both my NDEs and all of my mystical experiences, I was always taken. I was carried. I was enveloped and enfolded.
Yeah.
And in those experiences, I had no power. I had no.
Right.
I might be thinking thoughts, but I had no
Mhm.
will to exert action.
Right.
Can
I
you?
what?
No, I was going to say, can you imagine if they could take Tesla?
What do you mean take Tesla?
If they could have taken Tesla's essence and put Tesla into
Oh!
AI.
I was thinking
Albert Einstein.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
not the
of
car.
That's what I was thinking
No,
of. The
it's
car.
like
It's like
Piece of
Right?
crap. No, not the
Sorry.
car. The
Yeah.
fake electric car. Yeah.
But
Sorry
there
for all
were
of you who have
brilliant
one. They're not
minds.
really electric if you're
There are
still pumping
brilliant
gas in it.
minds out there and I mean, I imagine that, it can be done. You look at people, like, here's something else. You look at people who, like Walt Disney, who've been cryogenically,
Jeez.
you
And
know,
why?
well, where's his freaking essence? It's not stuck in a
Yeah.
frozen body.
I think
What
he's
is
in a
it going to
dark
come
hole, but
back when they
whatever.
decide, hey, we're going to bring you back? Like essence and consciousness
know.
it's a complicated thing.
It's
I- I-
those are very good questions. I don't know
I
the
tend
answers
to-
to that.
I tend to
Yeah.
believe Walt Disney's somewhere in a dark place.
Yeah, well,
I wonder about Steve Jobs because it's not like he wouldn't have seen this.
I don't know. It's just like, like I said, consciousness is is as simple as it sounds, because it really does sound simple. You can command it the body, you can go out, you can travel, you can become one with your creator, with the source, but realistically, science has learned apparently how to toy with that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out.
Is there repercussions for that?
I guess we're
From
going to find
source,
that out. I don't know.
right?
We'll see.
I just thought, since we're on the topic of consciousness, I just throw a few zingers in there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
it's
sleep
like-
tonight. I'm not going to sleep tonight. It's going over and
Yeah.
over in my head because I
Good thought.
wonder. No, I'm really seriously wondering about Steve Jobs. I'm wondering. He was a man who could see so far into the future with technology. He created all of this. Does
Tesla is the
Gates
same.
have does he have a contract? Does Musk is the one pushing this stuff. Like,
You mean like
Or what do you mean
heavenly
to keep
contract?
going?
no, I meant a contract with AI, like to be always kept, because that takes a huge ego to believe that you are worthy and necessary to be here forever and ever.
And
I
a lot
would-
of money.
Yeah, and a lot of
and-
money.
and
And
these are
Musk
people
has
with a
the
lot of
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? If they get they get stuck here. They get stuck here. I mean,
Interesting choice of words.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much better on the other side. The
I
only
know,
other
but
thing
they're
is
not people like them aren't
But it's a way of imprisoning
evolved that
people
way.
too.
Yeah.
it's
If you had the
imprisoning.
money, you really wanted to imprison somebody, that would be a way to do it.
And what happens when AI malfunctions? What happens to your essence? Like I've got so many questions.
So what does
about
this say?
this.
Stuck in the machine? Well, it's like that movie, Ghost in the Machine. I don't know.
Or
Right, I saw
Prometheus,
that.
how he's just like in the internet.
Yeah.
Well, this
right.
conversation
Yeah.
went totally somewhere unexpected.
Well, all of those
Wow.
are sci-fi explorations of exactly what were the question that we're asking. What is consciousness, and where is it located, and how can it live
Yeah.
outside the body in
Right.
technology?
Yeah.
Right.
Big questions. In the 21st century, 22nd century kind of questions.
Well, you just look at, the state of the world, with the technology, where it's going and where they want technology to go. AI is at the top of the list for all of that. So
All of it.
it's like cloning. Okay, here's another question. You clone a body. Does it not need essence?
Maybe the essence naturally infills life form. Well, okay, so I'm going to back off that and say the
Yeah.
essence
Okay. I
infills
didn't say
all
that. Take
life
it back.
forms.
Right.
It fills all life forms now, rocks and stones and sticks and bacteria. No divine essence, no divine presence, no life, no rock, no stone.
Yeah.
And so that happens. And so maybe this is just guess.
But yet they
When you
have
clone,
frequency.
they do. So maybe it's just sort of a natural thing that happens when you create life.
That's an interesting perception.
I don't know. I'm
That is
guessing. I'm thinking
yeah.
that through. I don't know that for sure.
Oh yeah, because that's something like, especially like people of strong faith will be just like, cloning is. I remember when they started talking about that, they're just like, wow, you need essence for this. This is diabolical. But what if it does just happen naturally?
What if it just happens naturally? I mean, what if that's all part of the contracted thing anyway? What if we don't know.
Yeah, right there. Tamara, get out of our heads.
I'm sure the divine would step in to make sure. There you go.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah, Amelia, I'm not hearing you at all. Oh yeah. So
I'm muted because the dog was barking and I forgot to put it back on. I'm going, yeah, Tamara, great. That's what I was saying. Tamara, great one. I love that. True. And Ken says AI will never reach a divine level.
Yeah, no, absolutely wouldn't. But no,
that's the scary part. That's the scary part.
And combine AI with quantum computers.
That's a lifetime that our grandkids would be living, right? Grandkids and great grandkids. Yeah. So it's really scary.
Not so far in the future.
Yeah. No.
All the more reason why, having an NDE, I don't know that I could leave. Even knowing everything that Peter, I think I'm just so rooted. Like they'll say, you have to look at everything in life as an attachment, right? Even the people in your life are technically attachments. And I used to sit there and think, wow, that's really harsh. And I took one of my sons to tell me this. And he's only like 20 years old, at the time, or 22 years old. And then he goes, well, no, we're all just attachments to, like, I'm your attachment. I'm going, that's ridiculous. Like I couldn't get my head around it until my grandson was born. And I went, oh, look at that. I have a new little attachment. And then I got frowned at. It's like, well,
he's the one who said it first.
You said it. It doesn't.
He forgot
work
already.
That way when you're a parent.
Yeah.
But it really is that way, isn't it? Everything to us is ego, and it's a form of attachments. So it's hard to leave them because we love them. But if you looked at them as, well, no, we're just attached to you. This is your path. You made the decision to come here. My part of your journey is done. And this was all agreed upon. If that theory is correct, that we all, our soul circles stay within our tribes, as you say. And when the time comes, it's like we agree to all of this before we come here and actually go through this leg of the journey. I don't know.
If I agreed to AI, I'd unplug myself.
Starting to feel like a Matrix conversation. I know.
Yeah, right? It really. And I've never even seen that movie. My daughter's like, "You've seen all of them." I go, "No, I haven't."
But knowing
yeah.
what you do now, I've had people say to me, knowing what you know now, go back and watch the Matrix trilogy and you'll look at it through completely different eyes.
I
Completely.
did end up watching. I just, you know me, I have short-term memory loss. But
So,
yeah, she's like, you watched all of them. I go, I'm not watching the next one. I never watched them. She's like, yes, you did. I watched them with you. I'm like, I believe her over me because my memory is terrible.
there you go. That's
Um,
something that, yeah, if it's a physical.
I believe my short-term memory loss, I blame it on my medication. I believe it's pain management. I push back anything that is not of importance right now because it brings up other stuff too from my past, and I block a lot of stuff out. That's what I was told in therapy anyways.
Right.
Does
I
it keep
kind
you
of believe
functional?
her. I kind of believe her. Yeah. I kind of believe her.
I don't know.
I
So,
block a lot of stuff out.
but is that even healthy?
No. That's why I'm here.
Again, it comes down to consciousness. If we're all part of a collective consciousness, all the stuff that we put out, I've tested this theory with the collective consciousness. I've put out like some random word. Like I think one time I put out a word, it was like swell, something really ridiculous you haven't heard since the darn 50s. Okay.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started hearing the word all the time. I'm like, as I put it out there.
It's like when
It's
you buy a new car. You buy your Tesla. Don't buy one, but you buy your Tesla, and then everybody's driving them, even though they're unattainable.
I don't know, but collective consciousness is,
Yeah, I experimented with some of that stuff, but again, I've moved away from trying to figure out all these components of the divine as it's expressed in the world to focus on the one itself, and let all those things just sort of take care of themselves. And
Right.
I did try to make it super simple for myself, because I got busy life. I only have so much time to devote to the divine.
Right.
So I'm going to give it to I'm going for the gold. I'm not going to go for the,
Yeah, don't even bother. So
Not gonna
basically you
bother.
separate yourself from the collective as well.
well, I find that
Isolating.
I do. Well, I mean, I physically have done that. I live in a remote town, in a remote state, and I live in a remote section of my remote town in a remote state.
Right.
And I mean, I'm really trying to separate myself from myself. That's what I'm after. I'm after trying to melt away the false self. And by doing that, I don't have to worry about all the other things. I don't have to concentrate or try to figure out about the law of attraction or my previous lives or how the system works beyond my understanding. I don't need any confirmation that the system works.
They're just they're living in the now, basically.
I live,
and just
yeah,
trying
and because in that space is where the
Right.
divine presence is, and that connects me to where I was and am, and so that's
Right.
what I want. I want that was and am space of the divine, of heaven. I want to have that here now. That's
Is
I went
that
through. I went through.
unrealistic? Do you
Oh
think?
no, is it true? Well, I can't have it as I had it there,
No.
where I had no body and was no thing. But it's not unrealistic. I've created heaven inside. I've created space for heaven inside myself. That's what I've done my whole life. That's what meditation, the Kriya Yoga practice, has done for me. Is that it's created a bigger and bigger vessel. And
Well,
so
that's what it means. Yeah.
right. And so I, instead of trying to fix all these other things, I just focus on the one thing, which is stripping away myself and let the divine, the Kundalini flow down inside of me and just fill me
Catholic
up.
Church
And
has a hard
It's
time
like an
with, by the
onion.
way.
It's just peeling
Holy
back the
Spirit, we call it the
layers.
Holy Spirit. And,
Yeah, I
Holy
know.
Spirit,
You call it Kundalini, and all the Roman Catholics are like, I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's very similar to the saying, God gives you what you can handle. You have what you've asked for before entering. So
And
you knew that you could
yeah.
handle it before you came back. Yeah.
Yes, I made that deal for sure.
Mhm.
And I had the support of the divine to make it happen. And so I'm not so. I'm in a situation where I don't need confirmation that the divine is real. That my problem is the opposite of that. My problem is the living in the reality of this world, this fake place. I'm in this inverse situation where
Especially right now.
my difficulty is earth, not heaven.
So this is the impact of the of after effects for you then.
all of this, everything we've talked about tonight is impact of after effect. And near-death experience isn't just something that happened in my past. It has a living presence in my life that is, even if I wasn't meditating in pursuit of it, it still never goes away. It doesn't shut off. It might damp down, like I'm too busy doing something else. And so it kind of, the volume goes down a little bit, but it's always on. And after a while of it always being on and finding out I could not get away from it, I decided to pursue it. And I found that and by pursuing, I know I've said this a bunch of times tonight, but by pursuing the one thing, I gained all these other things.
I just want to apologize to Summer. Sorry, we got carried away, but we can ask your question now. Summer is asking, then does that mean suicide was planned from the other side?
That's a really good question. I've had this strange event in my life where lots of people around me have taken their own lives. And part of that's being a pastor. And part of that's, I'm not even sure why a bunch of my friends took their own lives and family member in the past 2 years. So during this time when my cousin did this very violent ending of his life, very, very violent. There was a Native American spiritual advisor out here visiting from South Dakota come to see me and have this conversation, a spiritual conversation. And I told him what happened to my cousin. And he said, Peter, in my culture, we just figure it was their time to go. That's it.
Do you think it's religion, organized religion that, puts such a stipulation, like you don't have the right to do this?
Yeah, you're not supposed to take your own life. And I got that when I died. Okay, so when I was dead and saw myself as a created creature, I was specifically told that I can't end myself.
Right.
Because I didn't make myself. But
only God has the right to take your life, except the institution tells you.
We know that depression leads to despair, and despair is a killer.
That's
if you have depression that's biochemically based, that leads to the darkness of despair, then is it not like cancer?
It's
is
like
it not
mania.
right.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I always tell people when they've lost someone to suicide, I've always said, because I know when I've spoken about this before, at 15 I attempted suicide, and again before I was 16, less than 10 months, twice. I said people will look at suicide or attempt suicide or succeed because they're trying to end the pain inside. It has nothing to do with, they can't think of who it's going to affect and who is around. It's got nothing to do with that. It's pain.
Exactly. And this is why when you find these people in spirit who are lost in wandering, it's not that they can't ascend or go to their next level because of well, you don't have the right. It's because of, imagine the state you're in to take your own life in the first place. You remain in that state when your essence usually leaves. Every now and then, if you're fully aware, you might be able to say, wow, I'm okay. But I think you start getting those last minute things like, oh boy, who's going to find me? Oh boy, my family, the depression is just all encompassing. So what happens then with assisted suicide, which is something that's starting to come into play? Some world governments here in Canada are saying, oh yeah, we're potentially going to allow that.
Well, I got invited about a month ago. I've been talking to this man for an extended period, and he has despair unto death. And he asked me whether I would come out to this place where he lives and be his second, his guide, his attendee.
Wow.
He lives in a state where assisted suicide is legal, and he contacted this organization which oversees this in the state, or oversees not legally, but I mean not like for the government, but an organization that provides the service within the context of the law. And if he had been terminally ill, I probably would have gone help him. But he was not terminally ill. He has not by their standards. And so my legal culpability in that circumstance would be gray. And I just couldn't do that. Now, that said, I have helped people end their lives through, I haven't let me clarify this. I haven't acted in such a way as to cause their deaths, but I have counseled them previous to their deaths in order to prepare them. And this
Yeah.
one woman in particular had Lou Gehrig's disease, and
Mm.
she was, and I love this woman. She was a neighbor of mine, and she was a member of the church, and I knew her really well and her family, and she was going to choke to death, strangulation. That's what
Oh,
happens, you know,
terrible.
and not be able to move. So,
Mhm.
and so, in this circumstance, she had an accumulation of morphine that if she took a lot of it all at once, she could end her life before she
Mm.
strangulated, and she did so in the presence of her family.
Wow.
And I wasn't there for legal purposes. I didn't want to be present
No.
because I counseled her for 6 months in preparation for this.
Mhm.
And it's not the first time that I've seen such things happen in the medical world. There is a compassion that I've witnessed among healthcare providers for those who are terminally ill and suffering. And
Mhm.
I can't see a big amount of difference between despair and terminal illness, terminal cancer. The
Mhm.
darkness, the suffering
Right.
is
You end up in the same place.
I've
y-
watched that. It's
In
devastating. I
your
watched my godmother for 15 years suffer and lose
ugh,
limbs,
ugh,
and I just have to say that I am for assisted
Mhm.
suicide, like death, if they are terminally ill.
it's
I have a
humane.
hard time coping with it in other ways because I
Sure.
believe that if you're in the right mind, you wouldn't want to take your life. But when it comes to terminally ill, there's no way out and you're going to suffer. I wouldn't want to see
I wouldn't wanna see
anyone.
a loved one do that. Anyone,
No,
no.
even with my father, when they asked me, because he was 90, he was just past his 90th birthday when he passed away. And I said, why would I put him through all this hell to live the
Mhm.
way he lived with dementia, where he wasn't even aware of who he was, where he was? There's just things that I believe compassion and love has to step in. You know,
Mm.
I wouldn't want to live like that. I've told my
No.
daughter all the time, just pull that damn plug.
Mhm.
Yep.
Seriously,
See, it's
because of
easy
what
for
it does to your
family, right?
family.
It's easy for family. Like, you do counseling, Peter. How does that that's gotta affect you
Oh
in some way,
yeah.
even though you know what's there because 'cause you've seen it.
But I absorb the emotions and the psychological pain of the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's now I do it by Zoom, but when I was doing it in person, the
Mm.
the emotions are even a higher intensity,
Well,
and
especially if you're
it's just easy.
empathic, you're gonna absorb that for sure.
Yeah, you just absorb it, and so got to have a coping
Mhm.
mechanism or a cleansing mechanism
Right.
to kind of
Yeah.
work that
Right.
through and clear that out. Um,
Right. So how do you purge that from yourself afterwards? Because that would definitely leave an
uh,
imprint.
I'm a meditator, as I've said a bunch
Yeah.
of
So
times. That helps
meditation
a
again.
lot.
No, but
Meditation is
meditation
a big
works.
part of it.
Yeah.
A physical exercise. I
Right.
love exercise, and I'll get on
Do you
my
do
bike and I'll.
grounding?
Endorphins.
Like,
Pardon?
if you grounded before dealing with people, do you find that you would still be affected the same way? Like
I
grounding your
find
energy?
I do ground myself. I'm barefoot right now, and I do a lot of
Ah,
barefoot outdoors walking, and
right.
Mhm.
or lying down on the earth. And just I
Yeah.
was in a sweat lodge the other day. We took out the mats and we just lay on the ground.
Yeah.
I'd pass out in a sweat lodge, but I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
I
It
would
was
pass
really
out.
really
I can't
hot.
take the heat. I can't take it. I've
Mhm.
tried. I've done the cheating way, the ceramic ones. They just come up to here and you cut, and I've almost passed out because you literally sweat off like 3 pounds of water.
Oh yeah,
And
drink drink
you
drink
have
drink
to,
drink.
yeah, they come in,
Mhm.
they knock on the door. They're like, okay, you're done. Are you dressed? Like, no, I'm lying here under this thing because I can't get up.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so healthy. So
Mhm.
healthy.
But
Well,
but grounding.
no.
So meditation helps
Mm,
before and after. But
right.
I live a regular regiment of meditation in my life, and so I've
Right.
built up a residual sort of I have a residual always remaining inside of me. But I still am a human being, and I still deal with the emotions of other people's emotions.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
We're getting towards the end of the show already. I know, right?
Always goes by so fast with you, Peter. You're such a joy.
It does.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here with both of you.
Thank you. So please tell everybody what you have coming up, how to find you, services that you offer, and how they can reach out.
Well, I give a lot of private sessions. I do counseling, spiritual, mystical. I have conversations. People just want to talk. I do that. And I do consultation for spiritual guiding. So reach out to me, peterpanagore.love. You can find me there. I run this YouTube channel called Peter Panagore, but it's about the deconstruction of Christianity and the reconstruction through the lens of near-death experience and mysticism to find the light inside of the sayings of Jesus. And then 3 days a week, I run meditation where I bring in Lao Tzu and Buddha and Rumi and all these other people from all over the world and their mystical experiences. And I kind of weave that into the teachings that I provide then. And then we meditate together, because here's the powerful thing that happens in group meditation is that the little flame that I have and the little flame that you have becomes a much bigger flame around both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so group meditation enhances and speeds and develops your own interior life faster.
I've done one once and I wish I could do it again because it was before COVID. I loved it.
Well, it works through the lens. It works through the camera. It's through the camera and the microphone. Come join us.
I'll have to do that. I'm on your YouTube, so yeah, okay.
Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 a.m. live, and it works because
that's early.
Did you say 8 a.m.? I think that's about the time I'm going to bed. 8 a.m.
It's early, but it's recorded, and the divine light gets woven into the camera. So when I was on television, I discovered that you can, if I meditated before I wrote my scripts, and if I meditated before I went on camera, I could project the light underneath the words and inside the words, and it would be captured on the tape in the original days. And then on the video, in the pixels, they're not pixels, they're bits in the bits.
Right.
And then when it reached the living rooms of all these people, they experienced the divine light that would come through the lens. So you can do this in Zoom. You can do this here.
I gotta try that. Group meditation is so hard to explain, and if you're feeling like you're just falling a little bit, it's like the group just lifts you and keeps carrying you.
I did that when I was in Lilydale.
It's a wonderful experience.
Sure is.
Right. Well, thank you. So everyone can just find you on your website, and everything about you, books, everything can be found there. Yep. I've got your website right in the link to the show. So wherever they go to watch it, it's going to be right there, easy to find.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're very welcome. And you are back.
Malia.
I
Thank
believe
you so much. Oh my gosh.
Let me just get
my
this
honor.
Right for the people. You are back on
we have to put you like
September 29th.
September 29th it is.
Before Spooky Month.
That's when you are back, just before. So
just before Spooky Month.
And here we go. A couple more comments. One of your best guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
And Tamara, very informative. Thank you. And a lot of people still tuning in. You'll have to catch the archive. And of course, I will email you once we're off the soundboard. All right. So thank you so much for joining us again. Looking forward to the next.
It's going to be great.
Yeah,
namaste, everybody.
High vibes. Get those vibrations up.
Dance your butt off.
It's going to be great.
All right, darling. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. Peace and
Good night.
love.
Good night. Always a pleasure. He's just a wealth of information, and he just has such a beautiful energy about him. It's just always a laid back conversation. Let's put it that way. So whenever he's here, we just sort of get lulled right into it. But big thank you to Peter for joining us this evening. Again, such a pleasure. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for being a part of our adventure. Thank you. Big thank you to Dr. Justin Snicker, And again, guys, please, no matter what platform you're listening on, please subscribe. It really does help us. And if you turn on the notification, you might just find a show happening sometime in the afternoon. I know on the Outer Realm, a lot of our guests from overseas, we do it all in the afternoon, and I will stream it live on the Outer Realm YouTube. If you want to get hold of us, please head over and email us at theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com, theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com, and send us those commercials. Honestly, it would be a great way to promote yourselves as well, because you could say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and you have been on the Outer Realm, and I am looking, or I enjoy having a cup of Folgers, and, be a little creative, because millions of people listen to it. We play it over and over through different segments. It stays on all of the archives forever, ever, and ever. So you really, seriously, it's cheap advertising, but the key is you can promote yourselves, but you also have to promote our sponsor. Mm-hmm. So you want to do that, I say yay, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. Next week, we have 2 brand new guests. Wednesday evening, we welcome for the first time Scott McClellan, and he's going to be discussing his family lineage. And they have been running traveling shows for the past 104 years. Wow. So a Bohemian family. And it's just, honestly, I have watched him for a long time, and he's got a lot of things going on, and he's just, he's done movies and all kinds of stuff. So definitely going to be interesting. And it's going to be the first time we've addressed this topic matter, this discussion here on the Outer Realm. So we're really looking forward to it. Thursday evening, we welcome for the first time Joshua Lewis, and he's going to be discussing his research on the afterlife and spirit communication. And it's just, I have no doubt that's going to be interesting. So I'd like to end off the show with another one of Wayne Murphy's Folgers commercials. C2 tonight. More you give us, the more we play. Anyway, guys, good night and thank you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
As I've gotten older in life and learned to enjoy the simpler things, I find that in my old eye I see things a lot clearer. Phony friends, phony ideas, and just plain nonsense. You learn to appreciate the good things in life, the simple things. Grandkids, your children, your home, everything you have. And when it comes to something good and simple, my choice has always been Folgers coffee. Honest, true, just like TTNA.